Fabulous. Welcome to the panel this morning at the 11 o'clock. We're actually starting this with a bit of a performance for you from the fabulous Helen Oakley. She's going to perform a piece from her book called Equality. And you're performing a piece called Why We Need a Pride. She's selling her book afterwards, so please give her a hand.
Do you know what? I'll do it without. Hi everyone. So, just doing a piece from the book. This one's relevant because, you know, sometimes we've really had to fight for the right to have spaces. Pride is very much part of that. So this is the piece. And it's in response to people who kept questioning why there was the point of it in the first place, which was really winding me up. So, I don't get why we need pride, the gay kid said to me. It's just a piss up with your mates in public company. She felt an obligation to show her condemnation, a justification, or was it provocation? We've already got equality, so now you're showing off, you see. Screw your lack of chastity or public non-conformity. She attacks my identity with an air of animosity. I don't thrust my sex life in your face. The way you do is a pure disgrace. You say you want equality, but label everyone you see. It's just a crap decision because it causes more division. There's missing the point, and there's missing the point. It's fair to say she's missing the point. You know, in part, you're right, I said. I'll have some drinks tonight, but I'll tell you how outright it wasn't our birthright. Because I was born in the 80s under Section 28. Illegal in the military to even love your mate. Gay books were banned in libraries, teachers could not accommodate. Questions like, what's the like of fairiness? How do they fornicate? Because I was born in the 80s, where gays did not belong. They hid it from us kiddies, they decided it was wrong. It became a naughty swear word, which now seems quite absurd. My rainbow trapped inside of me was never really heard. Because I was a teen in the 90s, into the noughties too, out all day, all night too, just hanging with my crew. I never met anyone who said they were gay. That's hardly surprising at the end of the day. Because if I had done, they would have been beaten. It's not a choice we could have chosen. Sure, my area was homophobic. It made sexuality seem abstract, but it really wasn't that long ago that being gay was a no-go. I thought lesbians were like unicorns, a myth did not exist. I waited almost 20 years to find what I had missed. And all that time, I only heard gay or dyke as a swear word. Other labels non-existent. At least with that they were consistent. It never used to be like that if you look at history. The Greeks and Romans, others too, can teach a thing or two. Some of the most educated civilizations had gay relationships across the nations. They didn't then discriminate, they let them be and illuminate. See, pride isn't us showing off our sex lives. It's typically a high five to those who fought for human rights, to live our lives without the fights. It's our way of saying thank you because it shouldn't be an issue. We're not hurting anyone. Equality can be done, and it is. We can marry, be out in the military, show solidarity to those who are not as free. I am an individual, most definitely I'm sexual. My image is contextual, labels not contractual. But when I was forming my identity, none of it was there for me. So now I like to celebrate this very basic human right, because all of that is nothing when you look around the world. You see the hate and suffering it really can dumbfound. Killing that's unmentionable with morals that are questionable. To even voice this poem could be a death sentence. To listen to it just as bad, it really makes no sense. But campaigners of LGBTQI have really put off their hide, so now you question and say, why do you bother with a pride? Because you've only seen equality and plan to adopt a family. You were out at school, now out at work, at the gym, social networks, and every year we make a fuss, say, let's go march or float a bus. You think it's really evident we're being really decadent. I like that. I really do. It means we've changed a thing or two. Keep on changing.
Thank you. So Helen is selling her book of poetry outside afterwards. It's called Equality. That piece is in it. Fabulous. So please go and see her afterwards. We love you. So welcome to the LGBT Women's Spaces and how they are changing. First of all, what I wanted to do, because I've heard a lot of different accents as I've been kind of wandering around today. Who is from London? Let us know. Who's in the house from London? Who's from the UK? More of you. Who isn't from the UK? Marvellous. Can we have a few shout-outs? Where are you from? Where are you from at the front?
Ireland.
From Ireland. We've got Brazil in the house. Ooh, fabulous. Anyone else? Germany. We've got some from Germany. Australia.
G'day, mate.
Fabulous. I mean, you win for the longest commute to ClexaCon.
And on the bus.
yeah, on the bus. Okay, well, that's great to know, because obviously our panel are from the UK and kind of base their businesses and what they do mainly in the UK, but also globally. So it might just kind of change some of the answers that what we talk about today. So I'm going to introduce our panel actually to you first. At the top there we've got Lucy Fenton.
Hi.
Lucy is the co-founder of the LGBTQ+ venue, the Apple Tree in Clerkenwell. We've got Saski. Yes, I thought we've got Saski. She is a queer events host and singer. We have Naomi Bennett.
Hi.
If you were in the last panel, then you will have just seen Naomi. She is the founder of Planet Nation, a lesbian website. And then we've got Carrie, Lyell. I wasn't going to do that, but I must. It's just a bit fancy.
She pronounced it wrong.
Well, yeah.
Just Lyell. Fine. Not that fine.
Carrie Lyell, and she's the editorial assistant for Diva magazine. I'm going to come to you first, Naomi, because obviously you run Planet Nation. It's got a free listings part of the site, hasn't it? Tell us about when you started it and some of those changes that you see now.
So I started in 2011, and mainly because my friends kept saying there were no events on in London, and I was like, there's 10 events on Friday night? 10, not none. But it was more the fact that the women's scene moves around. It's all, we don't have many venues. They're monthly events. They get kicked out of one venue, move to another, and so keeping track of them was quite hard. I think that's moved on slightly now because Facebook makes it a lot easier to reach a lot of people very quickly. But the events still move around. We've not moved on in the number of venues we have. The venues we have, for most people, they're not suitable for what they want to run, so they have to look outside. It's a challenge because it's hard to keep track of so many events. We have such a lot now, we're quite lucky, but they're hidden. Like, you have to be available on the right night of the month.
Yeah.
Know where in London it is, hope the tube is running. So it's quite a challenge to kind of find those nights and have them accessible. So it's great that obviously now we've also got the Apple Tree, because it's another venue that gives us more options.
Yeah.
We always benefit from using our own venues because the money goes back into the community. You don't get ripped off with your hire fees. You haven't got to find the right licence and you lose your venue the day before because the venue suddenly says, oh, promoted. I thought it was private hire.
Right.
There's lots of challenges we have.
Yeah.
So it's always better to have your own venue. The venues we have don't always suit our needs. It's the challenge that we have. And
do you find as well that, because it is, it's free to post their event on your site, but are they coming to you? Because I think we've chatted in the past as well about, people are putting on these nights, but sometimes they're not advertising them to get people there.
There's most of the promoters, it's not their full-time job. They're doing it for love, no money. And so the quickest win is Facebook. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, though, Facebook makes it very difficult to reach your audience. You think you've put an event on, therefore everyone will see it. I've experienced personally where I like a page, I know the event's on, I've gone into the search bar, I've written the name of the event, can't find it, I've gone to their page. They hold things back. But the challenge is time, and I think people tend to go for the quickest, easiest win.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, because it means we're relying on a mainstream site as a primary source where that mainstream site actually isn't working for us.
Right.
It's really hard because it's a time issue. I get some, but I think I'd love there to be more, but I think it is a real challenge for people to find the time to remember 30 odd. I mean, think about how many sites there are you can list your event on.
Yeah.
You kind of have to prioritise. I think most promoters don't have their own websites and they want to go for the most people, and that will be a social media outlet every time.
Well, let's come to you then, Lucy, because you have your own venue. What do you think about that? I mean, where do you advertise your events that you have at the Apple Tree?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. Facebook is something that we've been using. We've only been open for about 4 months, and time is a massive factor. You know, we haven't run a pub before. We're trying to sort of figure out who our network are, where people are. Naomi's been fantastic introducing us to loads of folk. But yeah, we do use Facebook a lot. My website is currently temporary.
Yeah.
But there are things popping up. Outsavvy's there now, Planet Nation. But it's the promoters, like you said, I kind of am just agreeing with everything you're saying. You have to, and also, like you say about the venues, we're not as big as we'd like to be. You know, there are people who want to have 300-400 night events for women, and we can't have that, but we can do you know, you can have your workshops and you can come to the cabaret, or you can host your own cabaret, but like you say, things that you specifically want to do, there are things like Skirt Club as well. We wouldn't be able to do that because of our licensing. Yeah. So there's all kinds of sort of tricks that you have, and regulations that you have to get around. I mean, we own the building and we're hoping to do quite a lot of refurbishment work, and then once we've been through planning permission and made everybody really happy with what we're doing, we can probably be a bit more experimental in what we can do, but that's like 2 years away, so you've just got to be really sort of loyal. And venues are often rented. Someone can come in and make it into flats, and suddenly you've spent, I don't know, £50,000 trying to put a night on and got something together, and you've lost your audience because they don't know where you're going to be next. I mean, we won't have that, but you know, lots of other people. That's the problem.
So I'm going to come to you, Carrie, because Diva have started putting on their own events, haven't they? Especially sort of increasingly over the last few years. Anyway, has anyone been to one of the Diva events at all? Not enough. And has anyone been to the Apple Tree yet? Because there is actually, you've got a Halloween party tonight, haven't you?
We have, but
so if anyone's feeling
sold out, but it's
well, if anyone wants to, it's a waiting list.
No, there's tickets on the door.
There you
got
go.
Lolo Browse performing, and lots of great cabaret stuff. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, maybe come and chat to Lucy if you are looking to extend Halloween in the next few days. So tell us a little bit about, so Diva have started putting on their own events. You've got the Literary Festival, the Music Festival. How did that come about, and how is it going?
Okay, so for people who don't know what Diva is, I'll tell you a little bit about that. We are a magazine for lesbian, bi, queer women. Thank you. We've been on newsstand since 1994, so next year it's 25 years that we're celebrating. And so the magazine's our core product. That's, you know, where our passion is and our main aim. But over the last sort of 2 years, we wanted to just expand the brand to make, you know, put queer women sort of front and centre, because often, even in the LGBTQ community, we're sort of sidelined and ignored. And so we thought, we've got this great brand, we've got an opportunity to really elevate it, and that's our publisher sort of invested some money, which was really nice, and gave us the opportunity to branch out into different things. So since then, we've launched our own radio station. We put on our first literary festival last year, this month last year, which was a huge success. I mean, none of us had ever done anything like that before. We had no idea if anyone would come. We were absolutely terrified. And it was amazing. We had people who told us it was, you know, a life-changing weekend. And I think the reason why was because there's so few spaces these days for us to meet up, to have conversations, to talk to each other. You see so much arguing and fighting online, and I think a lot of that can be solved if we can just be in the same room together, and share our experiences and our stories. So we share those stories in the magazine. We also now want to provide space for people to do that in real life as well. So part of that is supporting people like Lucy, who, you know, are opening their own venues, putting on their nights. You know, we want to do whatever we can to help those people, and we also want to make our own spaces as well. So later this month we're putting on our first music festival, and again we're terrified no one's going to come. So please do, we've got a stall, we've got flyers about it, like come and find out more. If you can't make it this time, you know, come along next time. I think we all have a responsibility to support endeavours from within our community and support people like Lucy and support Diva as well.
Well, I think because personally I kind of think that maybe it's something to do with either a generational issue or like a millennial issue, because a lot of the upcoming generation, they don't particularly need a LGBTQ specified space to meet each other, to get together, because it's okay now to be out and to
It's interesting that happens until they need to meet a partner.
Yeah.
Because I find, I get approached all the time by women who are like, it's great, I go out all the time with all my friends, it's not an issue, but I'm not meeting any lesbians.
Right.
So it's fine to a point, and then suddenly they realise they don't want to be eternally single.
Yeah.
They want to meet a woman, and they suddenly look around and go, I'm in a straight pub, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's actually, even with that point, there comes a point where suddenly they realise, I want someone, I want someone. And again,
and I need a space to be
and
able
then
to do that.
if you're not in that community and then you go looking for it, you very quickly realise it's invisible.
Yeah.
And actually, I've seen that in the pub. You go into the pub and you will see people in same-sex relationships holding hands. They have their arms around each other, just like you see in a normal pub. And you kind of realise, actually, I don't see that outside of some certain places, but that people feel comfortable just to be able to do that, or give, I'm going to the loo, give them a kiss, walk off. That's a kind of something that you can take for granted among a sort of mixed group of folk, but you can't necessarily do that with your girlfriend, boyfriend.
Yeah.
So there's much more tactile.
Saski, you've got some thoughts on the pink pound, women, what stops women supporting queer spaces, rather because there's lots of gay male-orientated spaces, aren't there? But just nothing really for women. What are your thoughts on that then?
I think when I talk about the pink pound, I mean overall within the queer community, and even in terms of genders. So for men, the gender pay gap, men will automatically earn more money. Gay men in particular, they like to go out and party more. They drink longer. They'll stay out longer. Statistically, that's the overall. If you do the divide of between the gay male gay community and LGBT plus community. So I think that puts a barrier up. And then obviously as a business needs money at the end of the day. As much as it'd be amazing to have all these, LGBT plus women's spaces, which is, that's my dream. Mm-hmm. But as you've got to keep your business running, and it is a case of almost bums on seats, really. Or bums wherever they are, depending on what bar you're in. But but the fact is that also women, I think also, I like to go out. I like to go out and party. I like to, but. We do also like those home comforts, don't we? We don't always want to go out getting crazy and everything else. So I think again, venues can't necessarily survive if they're like a bar. Not to put it down on yours. Yours is going to be amazing and go forever. But I mean, but this is what we see, because we used to have sort of like, what was the bar? So we used to have like First Out. We had all these lesbian bar or LGBT plus women's bars, didn't we, in Soho? But they all started to slowly die a death because they weren't being supported. But what happens when women get together? This is what happens. Two lesbians get together, fall in love within 48 hours. They move in 2 days later, and they end up spending their weekends in IKEA. And then they get a cat. Yes. And then they hibernate, and you never see them again until they split up.
I have lost so many.
On Naomi's side, looking for, So that's what I mean. So we're quite different in nature in terms of what we like as well. We're gay men, they've got the Grindr, they've got all these other apps to support their social networking and their social nights. So hence they'll be out spending more money.
Yeah. So what do you think? Oh, go on, sorry.
Can I just interrupt? I mean, I think you're right, but you look at an event like this and you see that there is the hunger there. Yeah. There is the audience. We want those spaces. Look how successful and how busy this is.
Yeah.
So I think it's about creating the spaces that acknowledge the things that we want are different.
Exactly.
That we don't just want to get drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
So whether that is like a music festival or a sober space or a board games, because not everyone wants to go out and get drunk. My wife's sober, so we're not going to go out clubbing till 3 a.m. because she doesn't enjoy that.
Yeah. With most venues, if you look, they're all based around alcohol, loud music.
Exactly.
If you want to meet someone, you're not going to meet someone when you're drunk, you can't hear what they're saying, you don't know what they look like.
Yeah.
I mean, you might meet them, but you might not want to see them moving forwards from that.
But that is half the problem, is actually, I think, my experience, and in corporate networking and in social, it takes a lot more to get a woman in through the door. You want to know you're here because you have an interest in the topic. If you directly target an audience with what they're interested in, they'll come to it because they know it's of interest to me. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to meet people who've got a thing in common with me. Unfortunately, when we come to nightclubs and venues, it's the name of a DJ, it's a venue you don't know, you've no idea who's going to be there. And actually my experience is when I've educated through, like, I do like meet the promoter or meet the DJ, the idea is to humanise it, because women want to know who's running this night, what kind of people will be there, do I have anything in common? And especially if you've never been somewhere, if you read and you go, oh my god, that event promoter also likes, you know, Mars bars, it's ridiculous, but that creates a connection. You're much more likely to go if you think there's going to be someone there I've got something in common with. Music itself isn't enough, but all we have is what's available. And what I would say is, what we're really bad at doing as women is saying, it's not right for me, so I'm not going to support it. In London we have a bar, it's in the basement, and all I ever hear is, I'm not going, it's in the basement. The thing is, when that bar opened, the whole venue was decorated the same. The commitment was, if women use it, it will expand upstairs. But we rejected it because it's in the basement, and so it's still in the basement, and we've lost the chance to expand because they're now using the rest of the space for something else. We're really good at supporting things that fit the box exactly, but if we invest in something that's not quite right, it gets more money, it can grow. If we support the apple tree that's not quite big enough for 400 people, they'll buy another venue. And I think we need to change our mindset a bit of not just going, it's not right for me, so I'm not going to engage. It's like, actually, it's not right for me, but I can actually influence. It's same as coming here. You're here, you want to see more women's, you know, on screen. We change that. If you tell people you watch women on screen, you see more. If you tell people you go to events, they put more on. We all have in our control the ability to have more events, more spaces, more venues, but we're not very good at publicising and promoting and sharing. We support independent coffee shops till the sun comes home because it's good for us, but we don't support lesbian venues or events or even businesses until we know it's successful, but it can't be successful if we don't support it from day one. So sometimes it's about actually applying that thought process and saying, well, actually, it's not perfect, but I'm going to still tell all my friends. Because we can change that by turning up.
I'd say, I mean, that's definitely true from our experience. We've had the Queer Fair, I think once a month, in every Saturday, Saturday once a month, and it hasn't been as well attended as we'd like. And that is, we've got lots of non-alcoholic cocktails or low-alcohol cocktails. You know, we've got soft drinks. We don't play really loud music. We have workshop space and rooms and function rooms and things like that we can put on any workshop you want to do. If you come to us with your idea, and we can get some bums in seats, and we do let's see how it goes for 3 months. If it doesn't work for either of us, then okay, no foul, let's just call it a day. But if it really works, we'll put more and more and more. So there is definitely a thing of, you're right, people do not necessarily come and support the space. So
They want to know when it's good, and then they'll go.
Or you're just going to get me having my ideas, and I'm only one person, and I'm not like the full spectrum of everything.
That's it.
You know.
And oh, sorry. And just to add to both what you're both saying as well, it is about, you know, we do, like, the events that Diva put on are great because they specifically tailor to what women or LGBT plus women want, and that's what is so important. You know, like you say, not everyone does want to go out and get drunk all the time, but if you think about where our hub of the community is in terms of London as the capital, Soho was the place before a load of these great events were available, or bigger events as they are today, where people, you know, where we would go, where we would hang out, where we would be able to sort of be ourselves in our safe space. And I think what we don't want, I think, is to have that knock-on effect, because really, whether it's the festivals or businesses, if the business isn't getting the money in, then it won't survive. So great that we've got the Diva spaces and the events, and I've hosted a lot of them, so make sure you do come to them. But you know, it's important. You know.
I mean, we absolutely don't ever want to replace, you know, anything. And what is really important for us is that we work with the community and we ask, you know, how can we support this? How can we leverage your event or whatever project, whatever it is you're doing? So, you know, we also run like the women's stage at Pride in London, for example, and so we invite LGBT artists to come and perform. You know, We do the same thing at the Lit Fest. We ask people to come along. So it's about using these different platforms to centre and celebrate what we're doing, because I think there's so much creativity within our community, and it just doesn't get the attention that it deserves.
Showcased, yeah. Well, I'd love to throw it out to you guys and see if anyone's got any questions that they would like to ask the panel. Don't be shy.
I'd also love to know, for the people who are not from the UK, what the scene is like where you are. You know, how you've seen it change, and that I'd be really interested to hear that.
Yeah. Have we got anyone who would like to ask a question? Or yeah, lovely.
I'm from Germany, Nuremberg area, which is very Catholic. And we have, I think, in the city we have 5 gay bars. And a friend of mine just opened a lesbian bar, and the problem is that they have this people who always go there. Like it's this group of people, and you don't, like, when you go there, you don't feel part of them.
Yeah.
And this is what, like,
women do best.
Yeah. And you can't, like, get along with that, or like they open up, or
it's hard to fit in and feel comfortable going to that space.
Yeah, if you don't go with a friend or something, it's like you're lost.
We have a comfy single chair. It's a little armchair, and it's really lovely. I go in there and I see people just on their own reading their book and occasionally looking up. And, you know, the bar staff will eventually come over and say, hi, how are you doing, stuff like that. So with that in mind, it's really, especially in moving, it's hard to find your community.
Yeah, I think you could maybe suggest to the venue they could actually allocate an area where they maybe put a sign up that's like, you know, kind of people on their own wanting to meet people, or like almost. I find with women sometimes you have to create helpful tools. We're not so good at like talking to people we don't know and going into spaces on our own. But there's little things you can do to make it a bit easier, like having a space, single zone. Or single's bad because not everyone who's single wants to meet someone, but solos, having a space where and the bar staff keep an eye on it. They might go over and introduce people. We need a little bit. The guys are great. They walk in a room and they just talk to everyone, and it's a bit hard for us. But sometimes it's just tools, little things you can do. It's about sharing and supporting each other as well. If you see someone on their own, they're as terrified as you are, I promise you. But yeah, having a space where, it's a solo area, where those people standing in that area are happy to talk to other people, that message alone makes you think, I'm going to go to that area, and I know, and soon it becomes, those cliques will be like, that area's growing. And they'll get FOMO and they'll want to join your group, but your group will be open. So it's about thinking about what you can maybe suggest to the bar to help.
Yeah. We also... Oh, God.
Oh, no, go for it.
Well, we met when we were doing some sort of background research on what to do with the pub. We met someone who said something really interesting. She said that if you have a venue and 30% of that venue is one type of person, you become known as that type of venue. Never mind that you've got 70% of the people who are not that kind of venue. So if, say, for instance, we had white gay men, 30%, everyone would say, oh, you're a gay bar, we're not going to come. But there's another 70% who don't happen to fit into and who are, could be across the spectrum. So some of it is about saying, no, I am, it doesn't explicitly say it is. Let's just go in and see how it is.
I think part of it as well is about, you can appear like you're being cliquey. And actually, like, for me, I'm just quite shy, so I might appear like I don't want to chat to someone, but I really, really do. So I think, like, if we all made a little bit more of an effort to, like, make eye contact with someone, like, don't just, like, look at the floor or your phone because you, like, feel uncomfortable. If we all just said hi to someone we don't know.
Don't stare at people either.
Why not? What's wrong with that?
Unless they don't
eye contact. I think if we all make a little bit more of an effort to talk to people that we don't know and push ourselves out of our comfort zone, we'll end up making friends and making more inclusive and supportive environments as well.
And I mean, that's just this day and age as well. That's important advice, not just for going into an LGBT plus space, but just in general, isn't it? And hopefully that will help you sort of enjoy this weekend more as well. Make sure you chat to each other and get to know other people while we're here as well, isn't it? Has anyone else got a question? Thank you. Yes.
Sort of more a comment, but I think you really hit the nail on the head by saying about having events that are a bit more than just being lesbian events. Like for me, and it's brilliant. And immediately you start talking about like, oh, should we have a TV show? And, you know, have you played this video game?
Come to the apple tree, we've got a lot of geeks.
It's interesting, the meetup groups for the lesbian community I've seen massively grow, but in the same sense, actually, they're really hard work because the main person organising them is one putting out the money, making the effort, and what often happens is they reach burnout and the meetup closes. But certainly for the lesbian community, the meetup groups, for that reason that when you join a meetup group that's like lesbian cinema, everyone there likes lesbian cinema, so it does make complete sense. It's the same in corporate networking. If there's an LGBT corporate network, women don't really go. But if it's on a lesbian topic of education, or suddenly the room's full of women, and it is that thing of, it's finding the events. A lot of the promoters are scared. They think there's not enough of us to target a small proportion of us. And actually that's a big downfall as well, because it does mean, the night is just based around music or a DJ or just a venue. And actually, if you were to say, this is a night and everyone here are film fans and we're going to be playing films in the background and film soundtracks, anyone who likes film goes, you get a bigger turnout because people will make the effort to go. And you're in a room full of people with like-minded, but trying to get promoters to realise that actually there's more than 20 of us, and that if you target only one will turn up, that is the real biggest myth at the moment. And it's how do we change that? And I think that's about making sure we all stand up and we are vocal about existing, being here, what we want, and that we will go to things when they are of interest. And so talking to promoters about what they're offering and the venues as well, saying, have you thought about doing this? Because I know I would go and my 5 friends, and suddenly like, 6 people. I mean, it's that ridiculous, but that's how it starts, and it'll explode from that.
And also, that whole thing about visibility and feeling like you belong, and just, I guess, touching back on what you were saying about if you're out on your own and stuff, like we've done events, and I've done events with you before where we've made sure it's more mingling, and I've even held pre-soirees with people to come early to say and network and go, you're single, have a chat with them, have a chat with that. And that the feedback that I got was actually of the whole night. By the end of the night, it wasn't a packed out night, but actually by the end of the night, everyone was talking, everyone was, they've made new friends, some got lucky, but the fact is it does break down the barriers, and not everyone is overtly open and confident and have a big mouth like some people. So it is important that you do say to your venues again, like making suggestions, because you're having the same thing. You can't come up with all the ideas. It has to be a two-way thing. Yeah. I
find it really interesting. I wrote a piece in the magazine recently about how LGBT spaces are changing. And because we often think of it like it's a bad thing, like this lesbian bar is closed down, or this club isn't on anymore, and it is, and we need to be looking at the reasons why that's happening. But I think it's like you're saying, for a long time we just copied the model that worked for men. So they had bars, they went to bars, and so we tried to do it too, without really understanding that we want different things, and that's okay. We're not all the same in this acronym. We want different things, and so I think what is coming up now are venues like Lucy's that are a little bit different, that are more tailored or catered to what we actually want, and we should be positive about the future and what we're creating, like a phoenix from the flames.
Lovely. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions that they would like to ask? Oh, thank you at the back. Yes, stand up. Take your moment.
Apology for my poor English because I'm from China and I can stay a few months in there. And I'm a documentary student. And in the past weekend, I'm very confused because I have an idea about my assessment work. It's about a shorter documentary. And I want to film religion and LGBTQ because I think, for example, as a young man, young girl, and if they are from a religion family, maybe it's very difficult for them to be them. But my teacher thinks it's boring because he thinks nowadays in UK it's very easy to tell someone others I'm not straight. But maybe because I'm from China, so I'm not very familiar about the UK situation. But in China, actually, it's really very difficult to tell others. So I just want to know, is it really easy or?
You've done bloody well there, girl. So we get you. No, so I mean, I wouldn't personally have a clue how it would be in China, but I think we go on, Saski. I know you're gagging to say something there.
No, I think that's the misconception, actually. You know, again, about why we need pride is that often people think that, yeah, we've got equal marriage, yeah, we have same-sex parents, we've got, yeah, amazing, we've got all these things, but attitudes in a lot of places. I mean, I'm an educator in schools and colleges as well, and I'm working with the young people all the time, and there's still homophobia, biphobia, transphobia. And yes, it is changing, and yes, it is getting better. And I'm sick of saying, but we're still not quite there yet, because it is 2018 and it does need to, you know, it does need to move forward. It is much better than, we're so lucky compared to so many other countries like China and, you know, other places around the world where it's not acceptable. But certainly, I think the UK it's not as progressive as it could be. It's much more progressive than a lot of countries. I think it's one of the most progressive, actually. Yeah. But that's a very common misconception where people think, oh yeah, you're fine now. Hence, that using the spaces, like a lot more sort of straight spaces. Oh, it's okay now, but then you come a cropper when you want to meet somebody.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not
where...
And
I think it really depends on where in the UK you live. You know, it's quite easy to walk through central London holding hands with your same-sex partner. But there are lots of places in London that I wouldn't do that. And there are lots of places in the rest of the UK that I wouldn't do that either. And if I, like someone who's very visibly queer in my personal life, in my professional life, all of these things, if I don't feel comfortable doing that, I worry about, you know, a young person coming out who can't do that, or an older person coming out, you know, realising that their sexuality is maybe different than they thought, who can't do that. If you have a religious family, that changes things. If you are a person of colour, that can often change things. If you're from a poorer background, that can, there's so many factors that make it different for people. So definitely, yes, we have lots of the right legislation and things are moving in the right direction, but as we've seen in Brazil, for example, like things can always go backwards. So we have to be vigilant, and we have to be we have to support each other.
Yeah, well said. I think we might have time just for one more question, if anybody would like to chip in.
I just wanted to mention that, because you did mention Brazil, like we did get incredibly homophobic president just elected. And it is a different scene in Brazil than it is here, since it's still not as open. It's quite open, like especially when you live in São Paulo, you do get a lot of mixed spaces, but it's still really present. The lesbian bar scene, the gay bar scene, like we do need those spaces. And it's getting like he's just been elected, and it's already getting stronger. A lot of new movements, new groups are being founded, like as we speak. But it's interesting here that I do miss like walking around my own neighborhood and finding a lesbian bar, a lesbian cafe, or something like that. Because it does make a difference. And like living here, I moved to do a master's, and most of my friends are straight, and I'm like, walking around lesbian.
We're here.
Like, as you were talking, I was already looking up like, where is the apple? Doing those things and opening up those spaces, but it is hard sometimes. Like also getting the strength to travel all the way in London. And I think the free mixers are one thing that they're doing really well, and a lot of events, and a lot of not even only club nights, but like just events. I think I never use the app, but they do a lot of events that are really great, and they always have like little mixers before. And how to introduce people and make great friends.
So there are people that are kind of making it a lot easier, and I think we just need to continue with that, don't we? And
can I just add one thing?
Please.
Because I do think it's really important. Again, how we're going to smash heteronormativity is by having to make sure that. I get sometimes it's not a safe space, sometimes you can't be open and you know, out with your public, but if we start utilising, so we're using these words regularly, talking about LGBT+, just even planting seeds and getting people to think outside the box, to know that actually, you know, it's not just everyone is straight, white, male or female, you know. So if we start sort of taking that little step forward where we can, talking about LGBT plus spaces, or holding our partner's hands, or mentioning the word lesbian or gay or transgender or whatever, just start doing that a bit more, and that's how we eventually start becoming more progressive. And it's, you know, you do start to see that people understand about the rest of the community, the rest of the world isn't just, not everyone identifies as male, female, white, heterosexual. You know, everyone, there are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender plus people in the world, and it is about all of us taking that step to make sure that we as, you know, as individuals, out with our friends, however we do that we do start doing that, because people start seeing it, they get used to it, you know, and eventually that's where change comes in as well. So
thank you. Well, I think just a big thank you really to our panel. We've got Lucy, Saski, Naomi and Carrie. Thank you so much, and thank you so much. If you want to come and chat to the guys, please feel free to do so. You will see them over the course of the weekend, I'm sure. And a big thank you to Helen. She's got her books down here. She's going to be outside if you would like to come and speak to her. And thank you so much for joining us in this space.